Pandemic is certainly one of the classics of our generation. Similarly to Settlers of Catan or Ticket to Ride, it is a game that is a perfect gateway game. It is a good game to introduce new people to the hobby because it is simple to play, it has attractive components, it doesn't take too long to teach the game, and it is fun. That's a very important element too. You can have a game that's simple to teach and then sucks, so that's not going to be gateway to the hobby because the other person's never going to try a game again. Back to us. Pandemic also has the advantage of being cooperative, and I like that very much because when you are trying to present the hobby to new people, they may not have heard of cooperative games, they get intrigued by the idea, and of course cooperative games are just fun because it's so good to be part of the same team. It's good to play cooperative games with young gamers because the emotional struggle of losing is not an element of the game, or it is mediated, it is softened by the fact that if you lose together with the team. I like Pandemic, there are a lot of good things about it. But I knew that there was a new version of it, which is not new anymore, it has been around for at least a year or two. Pandemic The Cure, which is the dice version. I don't know why they decided to call it like that instead of calling it Pandemic, the dice game. It's a perfectly good name, and that's what's usually done. They went for a fancier name, but in essence, this is Pandemic done with dice instead of cards. Most of the cards are replaced by dice in this game. So I had seen it on the shelf of my friendly local game store for quite a while. I don't know why, I don't know what happened, that I didn't feel too attracted by the game, and then for whatever reason last week I decided to take the plunge, to give it a try. And so I picked up a copy and I played it. Pandemic The Cure. Let me tell you about the game and how it works, and then I'll share some ideas and opinions with you. Each player in the game controls a unique character and the ability of the character listed on the card of the character, similarly to what you have in traditional Pandemic. These are two examples, there are also more characters you can choose from. What is also cool here is that each character comes with a unique set of dice, and the card tells you what are the effects, the symbols that you can expect from the dice that character controls. So when you're rolling dice, each player is rolling different combinations of dice. I like that very much. Here we have the main play area with this circle here, which represents the treatment center. It has two tracks around it. One that defines the rate of infection, as you can see as described by those dice there. It tells you how many infection dice are added to the play area each turn, and the other track represents the number of outbreaks that you have, and if you ever reach this symbol here, then you lose the game. You also may lose the game if you reach the end of the track from that direction with that peg. But that seems unlikely to me, because if you have such a rate of infection, so many dice are rolled, then most likely there will be outbreaks that will... it will be the outbreaks that will make you lose the game. These dice that you see here, they look very cute, but alas, they do represent the diseases in the game, precisely like the cubes or whatever other counter token you were using represented disease in original Pandemic. I mentioned this because I know many people play with customized pieces. But these dice represent infections. These dice have different colors, as you can see, and they are different from one another. They have different combinations of symbols. They also have this cross here, but what really matters is that they do have different combinations of, not symbols, of numbers. For example, this one has 2 3s, A5, A4, and yet another 3, and the cross. This one has different combinations, as you can see. The golden rule is that when you roll the dice, you place them on the circle corresponding to the number. When you roll a cross, you place the die on this area here, which represents the CDC. If you have more than 3 dice of one color in a single layer, then you have an outbreak, so you mark that here, and you move the dice that are in excess to 3 from the area where the outbreak occurred to the next area, which may trigger more outbreaks, precisely like in original Pandemic. You have a bag with a lot of infection dice in them, in it, of all types and colors. They look really neat, but they're also dangerous because you don't want them to force you to lose the game. When it is your turn, you simply roll your dice, and you can re-roll dice, but the problem is that when you get the symbol here, the Biohazard, the die is locked, and you immediately advance the level of the rate of infection by 1. So you move that peg 1 in that direction. Also, as you can see, some areas, the ones indicating the new rate of infection, the number of dice, also have that symbol there that looks a little bit like an explosion, and that is also bad because it means that you immediately have to draw dice from the bag and add them to the play area. So you may roll dice, but the more you roll these symbols, the more chances there are that you'll receive one of these results instead of maybe the results that you want. Once you have your symbols, when you have rolled to your heart's content, or you're stuck because of Biohazards, you can spend your dice, you can spend the symbols that you rolled. Some symbols are special and they trigger special abilities on the card of the character. There are some other symbols that apply to all or most characters. This is the fly symbol that allows your pawn, that represents your position in the play area, to move to any one other area on the board. This one you can use to sail or to treat. The syringe is the treat, the ship of course is the sail. If you use a sail symbol, then you can move on the board or on the play area, but only to an adjacent area, not wherever you like. If you treat, then you can take an infection die from your region and put it in the middle of the treatment center, like that. Or you can take an infection die from the treatment center and put it back into the bag, which is good because if the bag is ever empty, then you lose the game. That's another way in which the game may be lost. During the game, you will try to discover cures for the various diseases. When you do discover a cure, you place a die of the corresponding color on this card here to mark that you have the cure. When you're treating, taking the treat action for a disease that you already know how to treat, that you have a cure for, then the treat action, instead of removing a single die, removes all dice of that color. For example, if I'm there and we have found the cure for the red disease, I'm able to remove all of these dice from that area. Pretty neat. Another very important symbol is this one, which allows you to collect samples. That means you take a die from your region and you place it on your personal card, or in any case by your personal play area. You collect these dice, which are pretty much locked in that area. You cannot put them back wherever you want. Either they stay there and you can use them to try to find a cure for the disease of the corresponding color, or you can give the sample to another player. If you are in the same area, then you can transfer them. And it's good to build piles of dice of a single color on various players' cards. It's good if cards are specialized in one disease because it makes it more likely that they will find a cure. You can try during your turn to find the cure for a disease that you own dice for. Then if you take that action, you simply roll all the dice and you need to roll 13 or more. That die roll may be affected by game effects, by special abilities. For example, this character here adds 2 to the total of any roll when trying to find the cure. Hooray! So if you rolled 13 or more, you found the cure and you put the card, a die in that area there, which is really neat. Now, one other element is the event deck. There will always be 3 events available coming from this rather small deck. These events are good for you, and you can purchase them by spending a corresponding number of dice from the CDC. Remember, the dice that go in the CDC are the dice that have a cross on it. So you simply spend the die from there, put it back into the bag, and use the card and use the corresponding effect. You simply read the text and implement the text. So that's another resource that you have. And that's pretty much the game. You simply roll dice, reroll, spend dice. update the situation by moving these two packs towards that scary area, depending on the circumstances. Biohazards move that, outbreaks move that, and you continue like this until either one of those two packs has reached that area, or this bag is empty, in which case you lose the game, or you have found the cure to all 4 diseases in the game, in which case you and or your team win the game. I like it. I like it very much. I find it has many of the good things of the original Pandemic, the attractive components. If anything, these components are even more attractive because those shiny dice with the light reflected through them like diamonds. It's not exactly, but it's fun. They look good, and the tactile element to me is pretty interesting. I do believe that there is an important tactile component in board games, which is probably part of the reasons of the renaissance of board games that we are witnessing in the last couple of years. Video games look amazing, but they just do not have that element of the fun of moving pieces around, of shuffling the cards and rolling the dice. When the dice hit the table is always fun. The noise, it's fun to roll dice, which is one of the reasons probably why dice have been around for so long as one of the prime means of randomization in games. The dice look good, the game looks good, everything is sturdy, thick, colorful. The cards look even better than they did in the original Pandemic, by which I mean the cards with the carters. Everybody gets their own set of dice. Component-wise, the game is excellent. And then from the overall point of view of the design, the game is also fun because it moves fast, you got your actions that give you some flexibility, even though very often once you stop rolling, what you should do with your actions is pretty obvious, but there's still the level of interaction as you're trying to coordinate actions with other players, as you're trying to decide where you go so you can grab a component or you can give a sample to somebody. And there's that planning that can go around the table as a player is taking their turn, and then next player will put into action or try to put into action decisions that may have been taken together with the group as the game was going around. It's called downtime. So you do not have much downtime there because of the interactions, because of the conversations that will go on. The game is perfectly playable as a solitaire game, which is always an advantage. Not all cooperative games can be played as solitaire, but this is one that just so happens that you can play by yourself when no one is around. Just an extra option. So I like it. I like the fact that the characters feel even more different from one another than they did in the original game. The fact that they have their own dice, their own sets of actions really increases the replay value, increases to me the longevity of the game. If you're playing the game solitaire, you just put out 2 card turns, so you play with those 2, then you change them. There will be a lot going on. That will be different from game to game. Of course, if you're playing with a group with 5 players, then sooner or later you'll end up seeing all of the characters. The combinations will still be different, but it's still good to have a lot of characters. And I think I believe that still the longevity, the replay value of the game is pretty good as is, even if you do not add anything to it. Actually, I didn't even look into possible expansions. I assume there are expansions for the game, or there are so many expansions for the basic game that either Pandemic the Cure must have some already, or well. But that's secondary to me because I like the game as is. I think it's a very good product. It is a good gateway game. It still has the advantages of the original Pandemic. Simple, perfect gateway with the cooperative element. It tells you a story that is still fun to follow without a map, without interconnections, the connections you have in the original Pandemic. It feels a little more abstract. It's not that the first Pandemic, the original Pandemic was a triumph for theme, but there was a little more theme than you have here. This is a little more abstract. The theme is a little thinner, which is probably the only very minor negative that I see here, because there are a lot of advantages that you have, which I think make up for that weaker representation of theme that you have here. Overall, this is a very good game, and personally, I think I prefer it to the original Pandemic. It takes less time to play. Again, there is a fun material component, pragmatic fun, making the game work, going through the procedures, grabbing the dice, rolling the dice, re-rolling, performing your actions. It just is a certain almost primal fun. There's a certain primal pleasure to it, which to me is even more prominent than in the original Pandemic. Either way, even if you still have the original Pandemic, I think you may want to give this one a try because it feels different enough that there is room in a gamer's collection for both. I know that in my collection there is, so I'm gonna keep both of them. I'm glad that I added this new game to my collection. It took me a while before I decided to give it a try, but I'm happy I did. It's a fun game. It's a fun game on its own. I was gonna say, if you don't have the original Pandemic, you may want to give this one a try because it could be a good beginning for explorations in the Pandemic world. But who isn't that hasn't tried the original Pandemic? So point is, even if you have the original Pandemic, and I believe you do, give this one a try. It's pretty fun. It's different enough, and definitely it is an enjoyable game.